What's up guys, it's Shuichi here, and for this video I wanted to rank my opinion on the Call of Duty Easter eggs. With this video, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to approach it one at a time. Black Ops, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, I'm going to skip 4 and Cold War, anything after that, and eventually I'll make a tier list with all 3 games combined, mixing them up, but I'm going to keep it separate and just start with Black Ops 1 for right now. Before we start with this list, I should obviously clarify that I'm talking about the major Easter eggs, not the smaller ones such as the music Easter eggs, all finding Samantha's dolls in Black Ops 3. I mean, come on, we already know what I mean when I say a tier list. Anyways, I know it's been a while, but let's get started. Okay, to start this ranking off, we should first point out that Kano and 5 do not have any Easter eggs. Easter eggs were actually brought around Ascension, which is funny enough going to be the first on our list. It's not a bad Easter egg, it's just going to be the worst when you compare it to the other 3 in the game. From a step perspective, there wasn't many there. They weren't too engaging, but they at least had the whole team cooperating in a sense. I don't know, because it's hard to explain. Like, I found it entertaining to stand on a platform for a minute with your teammates trying to survive, but at the same time, it was a weird step because you're just standing there on a platform. For a first Easter egg, it was actually great because it added a little more depth to the game, you know? From a story perspective, it wasn't that great because it was about Dr. Gersh being stuck and he had to get out of there, and it didn't really affect most of the Easter eggs from Black Ops to Black Ops 2. It was weird because he kind of had no relevance there. Saying that now, I'm sure there's a fanboy out there being like, "You shut the fuck up, you don't know what you're talking about." And you're probably right. I don't think I ever noticed Gersh's relevance in Black Ops or Black Ops 2. If he was relevant, my bad. I know he created the Gersh device, which is the best throwable there is out there, but other than that, who was he? To wrap this part up, let's introduce a scale of 1 to 5 based on the Easter egg steps and a 1 to 5 based on the story. Easter egg step wise, I'd give this a 3 out of 5 because it had your teammates all hitting the button at the same time and having to stand on the panels for a minute working with your team to stay alive, as well as the lunar lander step. To clarify with my Easter egg ranking real quick, I am a person that loves their Easter eggs to require coordination and teamwork. As for the story part of this Easter egg, I'm going to have to give it a 2 out of 5 because I didn't find it very relevant to the rest of this story in Black Ops 1. In third place, we have Call of the Dead. Call of the Dead has 2 different variants if you're playing solo or if you're playing co-op, which I really like. Sticking with the co-op theme in this map, there was more steps involved that required a little more thinking, a little more coordination. I mean, you looked at a guide. You're going to look at a guide for all of these, but let's just say it required some thinking. The Easter egg had you running around the map, had you getting things set up accordingly, running back around the map to activate some radios, flip some levers, hit some gongs, turn some dials the way you like it, and then there'd be a glowing green light. Another thing I like about the Easter egg steps is the fact that it requires the map's wonder weapon. I mean, that's a theme of all Black Ops 1's wonder weapons, but it kind of falls off in Black Ops 2, 3, and so forth. Story-wise, this Easter egg isn't too bad either. Let's just ignore Black Ops 4's addition to this and go on as is. The game introduced a celebrity crew as a one-off, as they usually do in the Call of Duty series, to aid Richtofen in his quest to retrieve the Golden Rod. Story-wise, while this crew doesn't hold any relevance after helping Richtofen with the Easter egg, I feel like they don't really need to hold relevance. One map alone was all they needed. Unlike with Ascension and Gersh, there was no point in helping him. There was really no point. Whereas we could just get the Golden Rod from these guys and move on. We made progress. Anyways, from a Easter egg step perspective wise, I'd give this a 3.5 out of 5. And from a story perspective, it moves upwards to a 3.5 out of 5 as well. I mean, the story wasn't too exciting for the map it was. We did get a lot of dialogue, some fun dialogue, and we actually retrieved an important part in the zombie storyline. Side note, do you ever think about how it's much easier to give something a 3.5 out of 5 rather than giving it a 7 out of 10? I don't know how to explain it. It's weird. I don't know. Might just be me. Moving on. In second place, we have Moon. Yes, I know, Moon. How did Moon get beat by Stringer Law when Moon has one of the best endings, actually it has the best ending, to an Easter egg ever?
Well, dear viewer, let me introduce you to my 3 arch nemesis. Gersh devices, QEDs, and the wave gun. But that's not all. There's a bigger, badder, enemy out there called the excavator that controls all three.
Now, to explain, on Black Ops 3 this might not be as bad because you have gobblegums that can keep spawning fire sale after fire sale after fire sale. It ain't that easy in Black Ops. We didn't have that shit in Black Ops. Playing co-op, this Easter egg is doable. Playing solo, this Easter egg is also doable, but by the end of it, you're gonna want to do what me and my friends like to call jump neck rope. Yeah, I'm sure you guys already know what that means. Trying to avoid the sensors. Going to a positive side of things, I loved the Simon Says. I loved how it's used over and over and over. I also like the soul boxes and the pyramid. I like the Gersh device step. I like when you're typing into the computer and there's actual dialogue between you and Maxis, going into the story side of things. It's actually a really great story Easter egg. A lot of story is told within this little bit of Easter egg.
Amazing.
We actually get to hear Maxis for the first time in God knows how long. We find out he's alive and he's somehow there. With this Easter egg, you actually get to see shit go down. You get to hear the dialogue between them. You get to see Samantha and Richtofen switch souls, bodies, however you want to put it. And then you get to see the Earth blown the fuck up, and the crew wondering what the hell they just did. It was a spectacle, and it was the best ending of a Black Ops storyline Easter egg. Now let's move on to the individual rankings of each category. Starting with the Easter egg steps are going to be 2 out of 5 solely because of the RNG from the mystery box and the excavator. Especially the excavator, because you can keep hitting the mystery box as long as you have money, but the excavator keep going. Round 5, round 17, round 35. It's a horrible process in winning game, and I feel like there should have been some kind of step or at least some kind of signal to make the excavator dig the right one when it was time for the excavator to come dig. And I'm gonna be honest, there was a point when I was experimenting on Black Ops 3 because I saw some satellites outside and I'm like, come on, and I kept trying to align the satellites in certain ways to see if that would help, and it never did. And then my friend told me that the game had already been data mined and there wasn't really much to it, and I was like, what? Come on, please. Story-wise, I think it's a 5 out of 5. If anybody argues against that, I'd have to ask what the hell is wrong with them. I mean, I have my own complaints about Moon, but that's a separate complaint entirely that would be explained in a different video if anybody was interested. And to top off this list, it's going to end with Shangri-La being my #1 Easter egg of Black Ops 1. I love this Easter egg because of how many steps there are, and you don't really have to roll but for one Easter egg weapon, the baby kick'em gun. I think the only tedious part is having to hit the buttons over and over and over again and only being able to do one step at a time. It can be tedious for some. It's really tedious if your friend doesn't like to listen and just spam the button over and 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 over until it works. I've had this happen and you don't get anywhere fast and your Easter egg run usually ends really quick. Getting back to the Easter egg steps, I love how difficult they are, especially trying to navigate the napalm zombie through the hallway without getting any of your friends to make him explode. It added a layer of challenge to the Easter egg, and if you messed up, you had to wait for another napalm zombie to spawn, which, unlike the excavators in Moon, it happened very often, so it wasn't difficult. Shangri-La's first step is actually one of my favorite steps when it comes to Easter eggs, because it was kind of silly just trying to match tiles with a friend across the way, coming up with silly nicknames like calling the crescent moon a banana, dildo, whatever you wanted to call that little thingy. Yeah, just the funny names. While the story might not be as exciting as Moon's was, it was still a really good story about these travelers stuck in the cave, forever trapped in a loop trying to escape. I mean, the fact that your actions would kill them every time, even though there was actually no impact, it still left some kind of failure, even though you were kind of used to it, and as a kid you were fucking demonic, so it didn't really matter if they died. And to me, the most exciting part of all was hearing Richtofen at the end of a zombie's run saying, "My master plan is coming together." Yeah, forgive me, I'm not good at accents. I mean, the first time I actually heard Richtofen say something like that at the end of an Easter egg zombie run, it caught me off guard, and dude, I was so excited just hearing that shit as a kid. I don't know how to explain it, it was just cool. Lastly, the meteor had an impact on the story as well, so there's that. to give this Easter egg a rating, I'd give the Easter egg steps a 4 out of 5. Not a 5 out of 5 because the crew would have 2 people just wandering around, one usually distracting the crawler while the other was on his phone. Story-wise, I'd also give this a 4 out of 5. I'm not going to give it a 5 out of 5 because there wasn't really much dialogue affecting the characters themselves, more so just dialogue between the characters and the people stuck in the cave? Was it a cave, a tunnel, whatever the hell they were trapped in? Anyways, here's the ranking of each of the Easter eggs as well as their score from the Easter egg steps and the Easter egg story. I could have added a third category for the Easter egg reward, but I don't know, there's not much to it. Temporary machine guns, one person getting a perk, you know, the rewards weren't great, unless you're a trophy guy like me, but I digress. Now that I've gotten back into the flow of making videos, I'm going to try to continue this series all the way through. I may try to add analyst videos in between these if I can think of any. If there are any analyst videos that you may want to see, make sure to leave them in the comments and I'll try to get back to them. If I'm able to actually complete a video on them, I will post them. But that's if I'm actually able to complete a complete thought. Unlike with these other zombie YouTubers, it's kind of harder for me because I don't like to go do research. I'm not that type of guy that spends hours on end reading the whole zombie storyline map. I just don't find that shit interesting. I find it interesting to play through the game and create my analyst videos based on what I've experienced throughout the game, like the Forbidden Doors. That one came naturally. Sorry it's been a while, I'm gonna try to get back to it. As always, have a good day, good night, good weekend, Merry Christmas, and don't die.